Hello, hello. Welcome to everybody that's coming in. Tonight we're going to talk about two viral topics that's been going on. One in my hometown city that I wanted to. Hey, sissy, I miss you too, babe. I'll call you later to talk to you to go over some stuff. Hey, BFF, thank you for joining. Um, so we had this conversation yesterday. So this should be interesting because I got somebody else's point of view. Well, a few other people's point of view about that. So I thought it would be interesting to get other people's point of view about that situation. Hey Sting, how are you? How are you feeling? How are you holding up? Um, so everybody's been talking about the viral incident with the 6-year-old young man. And Rita, was that today? I ain't talked to you today. That was yesterday. Or was that today? Child, you know. Hey, Miss Tracy. Everybody, welcome in, Miss Tracy. If you're not following Loving Me, Tracy Anderson, please do. You're hanging in there. You're definitely in my prayers. Hello, Miss Sherry. How are you? Um, so try me now. Child, you know I'm forgetful as heck. Try me now. Miss Rita had asked me, they were talking about this on her platform, and they had asked me to she had asked me if I would go over this story. It's really, y'all know how I like to dig in people's business and get their, grandma address and, mama's name and all that, and go through her business and see how she was. Okay, I knew that was yesterday and all that. But since this is a child, a minor, not much has been put out there. Of course, the child's name is not going to be put out there because he's a minor. They have yet, as far as I've been able to find, released the mother's name. I'm pretty sure somewhere on social media they have outed that lady. Welcome in, Miss Florida. She said, "Good evening, Mika Maz and chat. Mika, are you feeling better?" I will be. So, um, just to let y'all in on the going ons on my life. Tomorrow, um, I will be having a minor surgery done. And so I don't know when I will be back on here. So I ask those who truly believe in the power of God to keep me uplifted in your prayers. I probably will be back on soon, but it probably definitely will be on StreamYard. Because your energy is depleted and everything. So I won't have the strength to get up and, get dressed and, you know, all of that. But if I do come on, it'll be from my bed on StreamYard. So bear with me. Miss Florida Red say, "Hey, Mika's bestie." All right, so we're gonna start off with the story from the 6-year-old young man. And what so the two stories that I'm kind of bringing to you, I want to kind of know, who do you feel at fault? Is, is the parents responsible for the actions of the child in this situation? And what happened to the child in the next situation that I'm going to explain to you. So we'll go over all of that after we talk about the situations and break this down. So with the 6-year-old boy, Newport News reports a 6-year-old boy has been detained for shooting his teacher at an elementary school in Newport News Friday afternoon. Newport News Police Steve Drew said. Police called to Rich Neck Elementary School at 205 Tyner Drive around 2 p.m., officials said. The altercation was between a 6-year-old the student who did have the firearm, and the teacher, Drew said, and then a round was fired. Now, hey ma, so what baffled me with the this reading, and this is like one of the this is the second article I read. The first article was not by Newport News, it was somebody else. And what threw me off with when I read it the first time, it said uh um a altercation had been, some confrontation had happened between the child and the student. And I'm thinking, confrontation, that's like the wrong word to use in this like situation. How do you have a confrontation with the 6-year-old child? So I'm thinking in my head, was she going back and forth with the child? Not that that makes what the child did, um it's, we can accept what the child has done, but I'm trying to, what what was the confrontation? Was that the wrong choice of wording? But here they say the altercation. So I'm trying to figure that part out. Then it says Drew said that the woman in her 30s suffered a gunshot wound in the classroom and was taken to an area hospital with life threatening injuries. No students were hurt. Drew said the boy used a handgun and that this was not an accidental shooting. He is right now in police custody. We're working out the best way to our partners and different resources to address that situation, Drew said. We have been in contact with our Commonwealth attorney and some other entities to help us best get services to this young man. And he says a handgun was used in the shooting. The police chief said while the call initially came in for an active shooter, the shooting happened in an isolated location. The chief said officers recovered evidence there. We were here within minutes, Drew said. We did not have an ongoing we did not have an individual going around the school firing rounds. So when the call came in as an active shooter. They thought like they had just some random person going around the school shooting at the children, but they later found out that it was an isolated incident that happened in one part of the school. He said Drew said that the school was completely secure and checked by the SWAT team and officers in a very deliberate but orderly fashion. Police wrote around 2:50 p.m. that they were beginning the process to reunite the parents with the students. Drew said that all of the students were safe. All the children inside the school have been taken from the room with their teachers and escorted to the gymnasium, Drew explained. They're all safe in there. They're actually in there with counselors and officers. They're cutting up a little bit. It's good to see them laughing. We want to make sure that they're okay. So that was all that we had with that situation. Now, when I first read, just on first time reading that story, I already knew from previous experiences with us being close to a situation like this that they were probably going to charge whoever the child was living with, i.e., the mother or the father, wherever he could have gotten the gun from. So, um, in this case, I believe that whoever was the custodial parent, whoever the child was living with, and he had the access to be able to retrieve that pistol, that person is responsible for what that child done to that teacher. This is why it's important to lock your firearm up in the presence of children. This is why you're supposed to take gun safety classes, and it teaches you the proper way to dismantle your firearm and to lock it up in the presence of children. When my nieces and nephews are here, I don't play not for one bit to have it around them, because in a split second something tragic can happen. And by me living by myself, I keep one in the chamber at all time because I know it's there. So it would only take them to squeeze that trigger, and that's a life changing situation for all of us. So I would be wholeheartedly responsible if something was to happen to a child in my presence because of my negligence of leaving that firearm in the reach of a young child. So we will see what's going to come about from this situation. So I feel 100% that whoever that child was staying with, whether it be mother, father, grandparent, that person is responsible for the actions of that 6-year-old boy, because that 6-year-old boy, although they say it was intentional, and we can, he did pull it out after the altercation, the confrontation, whatever they want to say, but he, his actions had, a reaction. So, um, hello, I am Michelle. Welcome in, baby. Hello, Miss Avery, Miss Angel. Welcome in. So I want to know y'all thoughts on that situation. Who should be held accountable in that situation? What do you feel about that? And while y'all are coming up with what you have to say, I'm going to tell you about a story that happened to someone that was close to our family. I'm going to read Parita Parisa. I didn't hear of this story, but if a 6-year-old can get a firearm out the house and in the school, it's the parent guardian's fault. Absolutely. Miss Florida Red said, prayers, Mika, that God would anoint and guide the hands of the surgeon for a successful surgery and allow the caregivers to give the best care for a speedy recovery, and blessings and love. Thank you so much. Miss Angel say, hey, y'all. Miss Bernadine said, I read the teacher was 25. Yeah, I read something like that, Miss Angel. Loving Me, Miss Tracy says, my kindergarten grandson had a kid bring a gun to school. They arrest the parents early in the school year. They didn't find it until the end of the day. Wow. Jeez. So how did you feel about, I know, did you let your child grandson go back to that school? How did you feel about letting your grandson go back to that school? I know that had to be a nerve-wracking experience um for you to even think about having to let um your grandson go back there. Child, I couldn't, I definitely couldn't imagine um being in that situation. Miss Florida said, was it said the type of gun? I am thinking about the recoil after the trigger was put. I'll bet that was frightening. Yeah, I didn't I definitely they definitely didn't make a mention in any of the article, the two articles that I've read. I was thinking the same thing Miss Florida read, like even the first time I pull the trigger, the recoil moves me. So I couldn't imagine a baby pulling the trigger and the power that pistol had behind him. So I don't know. Michelle said, did they say why he did it? Well, they said because it was an altercation. One article said it was an altercation, confrontation, same thing, between him and the teacher. But how do you have a altercation or confrontation with a 6-year-old child? Like they have to explain to me what that means. Hello, Becoming Woman, 1981. If you are not following Becoming Woman 1981, that is a great channel to follow. Very positive. She says it. definitely makes you jerk back. Yes, because you're not, that's not something natural that we feel every day. And that's a powerful tool. And because I'm not, remembering what to expect when I go to the range, that first pull, it it scares me. And until I get used to that sound the jerk is about to make, then once I get to that, let that first one out, okay, I can know I have to gain control of it, what's is about to come next. Um Becoming Woman 1981 said, and then they say it was intentional. Right. So yeah, I need some more information. Like what does that mean? I can't wait. And then even when the child is able to speak with the psychiatrist, like that's only so much is going to be divulged to the public, and then you're really not going to be able to get much out of a 6-year-old child. Florida resident, in my opinion, the parents should be held liable, and one charge should definitely be negligence. Absolutely. Becoming Woman says, like, why did he think to bring the thing to school in the first place? There are so many. Hold on. There are so many questions, right? But if it would never had been at his disposal, that wouldn't even, that would have been a question, but not a question we probably wouldn't have been asking at this time. Definitely would have, in my opinion, would have been coming up later in his life. I am Michelle said my cousin daughter was being bullied at school and she took a knife to school and held it at her. Oh my God. How old was she, Michelle? Oh, poor baby. Hello, Miss Susan. Miss Susan said, how would a 6-year-old even think to do this, much less actually do it? I would hate to see the conditions of this baby was brought up in. That you nailed it, Miss Susan. It's he's being a product of if that he's being a product of his environment. In my opinion, is he this is what he's used to seeing, used to watching, used to being around. So um this is learned behavior. So like you say, we what is really going on in that house for him to have correlated pull a pistol when you're not happy, you understand? So something in that household, in my opinion, is not right. Become a Woman said, right, he may be a child that's parents taught him how to use it, or they was in possession in it of it in front of him, playing with it in front of him, maybe pulling it on someone in front of him, may not be necessarily showing him how to use it. Also, people don't understand the effects of buying their children toy guns and allowing them to watch graphic depictions of people being injured, people being hurt, people being shot. Those things have negative impact on a child's growing and developing mind as well. So you have to be careful what you feed your child. You may want to just sit them in front of a TV or sit them in front of a computer just to pass the time while you're doing what you have to do. But what are you feeding your child while you're doing this? Parita says, when I used to go to the range, a few of those Caucasian families will be there with young kids teaching them to shoot pistols and rifles. Those be very familiar with guns. Not sure his race, right? I'm not sure either. I don't think they said that. No, I don't think they said that. Becoming Woman said, many children are taught to use them very young for hunting and other sports. That's true. And I didn't even, until Parita mentioned that, that didn't even cross my mind. So thank you all for mentioning that because that didn't even cross my mind. I am Michelle says she's 12. Apparently, her mom was bringing it up to the school, and I guess it was still happening. That is so sad. Florida Red says, wow, I am Michelle. Sorry to hear bully is not taken seriously by school officials, and that's sad. I hope the bullying issue was solved. Me too. Me too. And I pray that your niece is in a better mental state, and I hope that she um, is feeling better about herself as well. Loving Me Tracy says, I believe the teacher assistant is the one who found it in the kid book bag. I was mad because I didn't find out until after 6. I missed the call if I wasn't from my daughter's work at the school. Oh my goodness. Miss Pamela says, I feel like these games they play on TV with a gun. Yes, that can definitely be a contributing factor. Hello, Glam to Gam. Everybody, welcome in Glam to Gam. If you're not following Glam to Gam, check my girl out. Becoming Woman said, oh no, okay, she's talking to Michelle. Okay, so I'm going to tell you all about this situation. So there was a young lady who lived across the street from us growing up, and she's my brother's age. My brother is 31. And so she allowed her children to go over to the children's father grandparents' house, and they were young parents, probably I think like 17, 18, maybe, if that. So they were young parents, and so they let the children go over there. um there was already some tension within, between the young lady and the father of the children. The child went over there. The grandmother was downstairs cooking, and the young baby, who she happened, her name was Mariah. um if it was a big story here in Detroit, so you may can Google it. I'm not sure, I don't remember what year it was. It was a long time ago, like years ago. But if you feel like searching, the baby name was Mariah. She was 6 years old. So the grandmother was downstairs cooking, and she left the baby upstairs on the upstairs to sleeping. So the grandmother says all she heard was one gunshot, and she said she didn't know what it was. So she ran back upstairs to find her granddaughter shot in the head. She forgot that she left the pistol underneath her pillow. And the young girl, as she awakened, must have been, trying to keep herself busy because, she was up there alone and started searching for stuff to play with, or maybe she seen it poking from underneath the pillow. Nevertheless, she grabbed the pistol, and the pistol went off and struck that young baby in her head. And at 6 tender years old, she lost her life to her grandmother's negligence. The grandmother, and I'm not sure if the grandfather was as well, but I know the grandmother was definitely held accountable for that, um, for her negligence, and she was arrested and she was prosecuted. But that didn't take away from the trauma that the mother and the father had, and the rest of the family, especially the mother, had to endure, of losing her child, and losing her child because she thought it was safe to let her baby spend time with her grandmother, somewhere she thought she would be safe at. And by her grandmother's neglect, that baby lost her life. And I was thinking, to myself, and this ain't Tamika talking, this Mika. So y'all know Mika is the hood chick. We ain't talking about the one who do all that little fancy talk. Hello, Miss Geraldine. What kind of nut would sleep with a pistol under their pillow? Like pistols, just like anything, wear down. The firing mechanisms wear down depending upon how long you had it. Anything with the pistol can malfunction. So throughout sleep, your night sleep, anything can make that trigger go off and you can accidentally shoot yourself in the head by sleeping with the darn pistol under your pillow. So why would you be so foolish to sleep with a loaded pistol under your darn pillow? And then take it a step further and leave it there with kids in the house, and then you lay that baby in the same bed with this loaded firearm in there. It's ridiculous to me. Hello, Miss Geraldine. Miss Angel said her grandmother did every night. That is so unsafe. They have so many contraptions that where you don't even have to do that. Like the things that I have on the side of my bed that you can just put it on the side of your bed like a holster. And if you need to grab it from the side of your bed, you pull it from the side of your bed. It's so many things out now. Hell, got one on my nightstand. If you don't want to put it there, put it on your nightstand. Hell, right where I can reach it and grab it. But I'll be doggone if I put it underneath my pillow. Becoming woman says my aunt always had one under the pillow right beside the one she slept on. Woo child. Hello, Miss Latinia. That's so unsafe. I am Michelle said people probably think that it's a easy reach and don't think. But to me, you have to lift your head up, put your hand under your pillow, then pull it out. And then most people, if, I mean, I don't know if you would really have one in the chamber with, well, obviously she did, but it's so much easier to me just to reach over and turn around and fire instead of having, because if you're being awakened out of your sleep, you're incoherent when you first wake up. So now you got to fumble for it opposed to just reaching over because I've made a mental note. I do practices where you just pull. So I know exactly where it's at all times, but that's just me. That's just me. I guess living, being brought up in the hood made me extra cautious with stuff, but that's just me. Miss Sweaterhead said, Mika, you are younger, but truth be told, that's how they did it back in the day. And I can understand that, but it's still not safe. It's so many things can go wrong with in that situation. I understand. I've heard different stories about people um sleeping with it under their pillow or on the other side of their pillow, on the side that they think they may never roll over, but it's just not a safe thing to practice. As Angel said, I wouldn't be able to sleep with that thing under my pillow. Me either. Me either, baby. Becoming a Woman said that is definitely how they did it back in the day. All these new contraptions were not available then. Understandable, but a nightstand, a side table, that was there. Hell, a box next to your bed. But I get it. I definitely get it. I definitely get where y'all coming from. Sting says, I keep mine wherever I am in the house. You heard me. You heard me. Baby, wherever my buddy, child. And I got kid sister, girl. Ain't no playing up in here. Stings. Oh, I read Sting. Oh no, she said I'm in the kitchen now, and it's in the kitchen with me. Yes. Miss Florida Red says talking. She's agreeing with becoming a woman. I am. Michelle said we got people in this world that thinks that it can never happen to them, and they can. Yeah, but I understand. Back in the day, they did what they thought was right or what was convenient for them. I absolutely understand, but I just want to teach the importance of not making those same mistakes. I understand why a lot of people did what they did, but I want to, show what can happen if, something went wrong in that situation. Okay, y'all. So this is the one that happened yesterday in my hometown. So it says a teen hospitalized after a hair can after hairspray can explodes in face, and the parents have filed a report with the Detroit Police Department. So here we go with this one, y'all. And they said the hair can explosion blinded her in one eye, broke her bones in her face. You read that, Miss Becoming a Woman? Yeah, this one was a bit much. My sister called and told me about this, and then my best friend called me and we were talking about it. So we're going to get to it. It says Detroit. A 14-year-old girl who was injured with a can of hairspray exploded has been discharged from the hospital. Tanija Johnson was getting her hair done by an unlicensed stylist working at a clothing boutique in Detroit on Saturday, January 7th, when a can of hairspray exploded and injured her. She was rushed to Children's Hospital for treatment. She was discharged from the hospital on Thursday. The teen and her mother has filed a report about the incident with Detroit police. The unlicensed stylist was working out of Spoil Me Rotten Couture clothing boutique on McNichols, was literally like a mile away from me, literally like 5 blocks away from me. Says the stylist admitted she placed the flammable hairspray on a curling iron heater, causing the can to explode in the teen's face. So now let me go here. So the initial report, it says she suffered her injuries because the hair can spray was left too close to the curling iron heater. So the mother says she wants to be a doctor. She has her whole life ahead of her. Tanasia Brown wants to be a doctor, but right now a team of doctors is working to help her inside Children's Hospital. The 14-year-old has lost sight in one eye. Her eye socket is shattered. Her nose is broken, including muscle and bone inside her mouth, which are fractured. A can of hairspray was left too close to a curling iron heater and exploded right into her face. And it says videos all over YouTube can show you how powerful a can of hairspray explosion is. It says Brown was rushed to the hospital. When I got to Sinai Grace, they had her in a trauma center, and I broke into tears, says Latanya Johnson. So Sinai Grace is, the local hospital that's in that area, and they'll treat you real quick, but they don't primarily treat children. So I suppose that they shipped her down, not shipped, transported her down to downtown to Children's. The hairdresser responsible goes by the name Styles by Mac. On her Instagram page, she's taking responsibility for leaving the hairspray near the heater, apologizing to the teen and her family. The 14-year-old saw the stylist showing off her work on Instagram and booked an appointment where her page reads, "Please be advised that I am an unlicensed hairstylist attending cosmetology school in order to obtain my license. She tells me I don't have insurance and I don't own a shop as I am leasing the shop." Latinia Johnson said. "So I say, well, my baby is here in the hospital. What are we going to do?" And that was it. Latinia Johnson was holding people and the salon owner responsible for what happened to her daughter will come later as she is focused on her daughter's recovery. She is in good spirits, Tanya Johnson said. "She just keeps saying, 'Mommy, will I be able to see again?' I'm just comforting her and letting her know you're going to be okay and we're going to get through this." Now, before I read this article, um I didn't know whether people knew whether she was or wasn't licensed because it was a big thing on whether she was or wasn't licensed. Now let me break it down to y'all how it is here in the D. I don't know how it is where y'all live, but I'm not going to say all, but a great majority of us know that the stylists, barbers, nail techs, lash techs that we go to are not licensed. Whether or not they work in the salon, they are not licensed. And the majority of us, a great deal of us, are well aware that these people are not licensed. We go to them anyway, whether they in their basement, their living room, their doggone kitchen. People don't go in there asking people whether they are or aren't licensed. They're not strict here in Detroit where they come out and police the salons to actually see if people are licensed. But I guarantee you, as long as that girl or man can slay some hair, they're going to book that appointment. Whether they're licensed or not is not on their mind, me included. I've been guilty because I only go to my aunt for her to do my natural hair. So I'm thinking, what's the harm they're going to do to me because they're only washing my natural hair, braiding me down, and putting my wig, customizing my wig. So, what can happen to me? She's not putting no chemicals or anything in my hair. So, no, I don't go in there checking to see if baby girl or old boy have any license. I'm guilty myself, never thinking that they're flammable products that they work with. So, I guarantee you that people are aware that, like any other entity we go in, that there are illegal things going on everywhere in the shop, in the church, in the police department. It's illegal stuff going on, in my opinion. So, my question to you all is, who's responsible? Because in my opinion, everybody played a part in that incident. The owner of the shop who hired an unlicensed hairstylist, cosmetologist, because here, even though we know that they're not licensed, may or may not be licensed before we enter, it is the law here that you have to have a license to work in a salon here. So she's responsible for hiring, or he or she is responsible, the owner of that spot, for hiring an unlicensed stylist. The stylist is responsible because of her negligence, even though I have pity for her because it was a human error. We all make a mistake. Whether or not she had license in this situation, to me, doesn't make any difference, because if she had license, she could have still made the same mistake moving too fast. I have seen my licensed aunt moving fast and her putting the products behind her back as she curl people's hair, and she's not looking what she doing in her stove is sitting right there, because but she's constantly picking those products up, so it's not giving it that chance to heat up to that temperature to explode. And after her client is finished, she is sanitizing and cleaning her station, so her products is not sitting there for a long time. But going by the young lady's Instagram, she does a lot of wigs and things like that. And me and my best friend was going over this. So at 14, we're just going to assume that, and this is only assumption, that the 14-year-old was not getting a wig. She was probably getting her natural hair done, maybe some braids, maybe a ponytail, something like that. So maybe the can was sitting there since her last customer, and it just had a chance to heat up because she was not using it on the baby girl, the 14-year-old. And in addition, I feel like the mother who dropped the young lady off to an unlicensed stylist should also take part in the responsibility, because you can't keep beating her with she's unlicensed, she was unlicensed, she was unlicensed. Now, when I found out now that it was clearly stated in her bio that she was unlicensed and is in cosmetology school. So she let you know that she didn't have license the first, yet you still chose to take your child there to have a service rendered to her. So that's just my opinion. Let me read what you all have to say. Becoming a Woman said that baby may not ever see out that eye again. The beautician was not licensed either. But like I said, becoming a woman, whether she was licensed or not, that was human error. So if she was licensed, do you think this incident was still not been able to, like, to happen because she had a license? If she had a license, would that have would change the fact? Becoming a Woman says she kept texting the girl's mother, apologizing over and over. And that's why I say I can have mercy on the stylist, because the stylist has been very apologetic. She has offered money. She has sent things to the hospital. She's been on every post all over every social media, apologizing to everybody, trying to make the situation right. She is standing on her mistake, and although she cannot change what is happening, she is not trying to run away from what she has done. Loving Me Tracy said, it's easy to teach these kids how to use a gun. I wish they wouldn't buy them toy guns. The 1-year old be saying pow pow, and his dad always walk around with his gun in his pocket. Makes me so nervous. Wow. I am Michelle said, that's sad. I feel so bad for her. The lady should be charged. Oh, and she will be. She will be. Her and the shop owner definitely will be charged. Because although we know it's not legal, they let it happen. They're so lax here, but it's still against the law. Florida Red says, prayers for all parties. Sad this happened. Absolutely. Becoming a Woman said that's facts. Becoming a Woman said this was a very unfortunate accident that the girl will have to pay for. Yeah, it is very sad on all ends, I think. Becoming a Woman said this is a very bad one because everyone knows that this was a mistake, but it's hard to have mercy when your child's been hurt. Do you think the mother legally has grounds to sue? That's where it's going to get tricky at becoming a woman. And I do understand when it's your child, you're not going to want to hear any of that other stuff. But from the outside looking in, you know, facts are facts. So I definitely understand when it's your baby, you don't want to hear none of that mess we talking. So I get it. But that's where it's going to come in at, because the mother, because they said that the young girl, um learned of the woman on Instagram, and by her being 14, I'm pretty sure she ran it across her mother, and she probably read the bio. I'm thinking if she's acting as she's acting now, I would assume that she read over the bio and things of that nature, especially since she had to know who to text or how to get in contact with her. All of that would be at the top where that information will be stated. Hello, Miss Doris. Yes, I am Michelle. Definitely lesson learned for all of us, because I was telling someone today, now I'm going to be paranoid when I go to people, like making sure the can is not too close to something or anything now, because that opened my eyes. Like, that's something that I never even thought of. So yes, this situation has definitely opened my eyes. Um Becoming a woman said, yeah, that was so unfortunate. Becoming a woman said, never know these days, Mika. These children be wearing wigs, lashes, and all. Yeah, that's true. That is definitely true. Becoming a woman, that's definitely true. Becoming a woman said, that's true. It was definitely in her bio. Becoming a woman said, no, I typed that before you started reading. Okay, baby. I am. Michelle said, if she had a license, she probably would have more aware, because she probably would have been taught not to leave the spray around anything hot. But as I told you, I am Michelle. My aunt is a licensed cosmetologist, and they move so fast. When she's curling, she's putting stuff behind her back as she's putting it on the counter. She's not. And they usually work with the station behind them. And in all honesty, and I grew up in shops. You know how when your loved one does hair and they play you like they play it like a sucker. You be the last one to get your hair done. So I grew up in shops in salons all my life. So they be moving so fast. I've never really seen anybody make a full turn to put a can back on there. Now, to get their flat irons out, I mean, to pick their not even the flat irons, but to get the pressing comb out, to get curlers that you have to put out the stove. Yeah. But to do a whole turn to put a can on, they usually just reach behind their back, because it's a repetitive thing. They know exactly where it's at. But because they're picking it up constantly, it doesn't get a chance to get to that temperature. I'm definitely not saying everyone does this, but I've definitely seen it done by licensed stylists, because they're moving so fast. Becoming a woman said, it's human error. When I'm curling my hair in my bathroom, I mistakenly put them curlers down, not thinking about the oil sheens spray right beside. I said the same thing to someone today. I'm pretty sure I done set my flat irons right next to some got to be before. I'm pretty sure of it. Not thinking, because that's not in my head like, oh, this can gonna combust. But in addition, I know I'm constantly picking up my flat irons as well. And when I'm done with them, I'm gonna unplug them immediately and put them back up. So we just never been in a situation where we actually left something that hot to get the container to where it's gonna combust. So it definitely was just the honest mistake, and whether or not she had license, I just feel has nothing to do with the situation, because the licensed woman or man could have made the same mistake, but they were beating her down on social media about not having a license. And it's like, okay, if she would have had one, then what would have been y'all argument then? Mistakes happen, and unfortunately, this young baby has to pay for that mistake that happened to her. But I'm definitely going to keep that young lady uplifting in prayer, and that she has a speedy recovery, and that we know that prayer changes things and anything is possible. And they may say, the doctors can only do so much, but the power of God can change anything. And the doctors don't have the final say, the good Lord do. So, we just going to pray for the best to happen to that young lady. And that's all we can continue to do is lift her up in prayer. Um, so, if everybody hearts and minds are clear, I also ask you to lift me up in prayer tomorrow afternoon. I will let you all know when I am out of surgery and back home in my house. Um, and I'm pretty sure I will see you. You will, y'all won't see me, but y'all will hear me. I am Michelle says sometimes it takes for something to happen for us to think twice. Hopefully, she's fully recovered. And I am Michelle. You said it best. Sometimes things like this don't ever cross our mind until it's put in front of our face. And I, this is something truly that never crossed my mind, but now it's definitely going to be on my thought process. And if, thank you so much, Miss Doris, baby. And if, you know, thank you, Miss Geraldine. Thank you, sis. And if it's something that is a big deal for you to know whether or not a stylist is licensed or not, do your due diligence. Ask them before you sit your tail in their chair. Don't wait till it's too late to wonder if they were licensed or not, because that's, it's too late then. But I love you all from the bottom of my heart, and I will talk to you all soon. Good night.